Hey there, Banditos. Welcome to the latest episode of the Dollar Bin Bandits, where, as always, we fling open the doors of your local comic book shop and bring you interviews with your favorite comic book creators of yesterday and today. But before I get to the interview, let me ask you guys a quick question. When you're sitting down on a Wednesday reading your weekly stash, what do you like to do? Perhaps nice ice cold glass of water, maybe a frosty beverage, glass of wine, or maybe some coffee. I like to drink coffee on a daily basis. I'm a bit addicted to it, you might say. Uh, Nice iced coffee or a hot cup of Joe in the winter. They pair very nicely when reading comics. And chances are you've seen our next guest business if you're poking around on Facebook or the internet somewhere and you're digging around about comics. So we're bringing you our interview with Tony and Tanya Scholl. They're the owners and operators of Comics on Coffee. Two great people who had a chance to combine their love of comic books and coffee to bring you some really great branded blends of coffee beans. They have the Keurig coffee pods, some whole beans, some ground coffee as well, but they're all branded by DC or Image, and they have the comics logos on them, as well as imagery like Superman, Batman, Green Lantern, Wonder Woman. So, without further ado, let's get to the interview. This is Tony and Tanya Scholl. Tony and Tanya Scholl, the owners of Comics on Coffee. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, we appreciate it. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
So, you guys have a really awesome and unique business. You've, combined the world of comics and coffee. So, I'm going to ask you the same question that we ask everyone is how did you first discover comic books?
Man, I was a kid.
Yeah.
Archie Comics. Do you remember when they were kind of? I guess they still
I
are.
do.
They're still there in the grocery stores, right?
Oh yeah, I don't think they've ever gone away and just kind of, they change a bit, but they never leave.
Right. They're just one of those that are just going to be. What are they, like a number 1,000?
Who knows? Yeah,
I haven't checked in a while, but that's really what got me interested in them, in the comics. But I started watching Batman the animated series. You did too.
Yeah, my favorite.
That's what really got me into Batman. So from there, I think I just really was into Batman comics. Still to this day, I still love Batman. We still watch animated series.
Yeah, we're watching Batman Beyond right now. I mean, I watched it when I was a kid too, but so we still go back to all those old classic characters, DC especially. So I think the short answer is just how did we get into it? I mean, it was so long ago, we couldn't even tell you. Like, just like a lot of people, just from kids, we grew up with it and we still love it to this day.
I gotta say, that's one thing that jumped out at me when I was reading your website and your about section is you referenced Batman the animated series, and that I'm probably around the same age as you because I adore that series and all the kind of subsequent series that came out of it as a result. And I think that people my age and a little bit younger, that's probably their first real, with the exception of maybe the Batman '89 movie, that's their first real kind of jumping off point for Batman. It was a great series.
Yeah, it was awesome. I mean, Harley Quinn was invented through that series. I hear like that theme song that in my head, and it just it gives you that warm feeling inside from your childhood.
Absolutely.
And the animated series also, I remember not quite as much as I loved the Batman series, but that was definitely there too. So.
Yeah, as much as I love Superman, obviously. I mean, that show didn't quite, I don't know, it lacked something. I didn't know what, but something. But then there was like Justice League and Justice League Unlimited, which
well, you're comparing those to animate the Batman. It's just hard to.
Yeah, it was so top tier. You can't.
Still to this day, it's probably one of the best.
Yeah.
So, have either one of you had a chance to work for a comic book company? Because you guys clearly are into comics. You have a fair amount of art behind you, which I love, and you have a love for comics. But have you ever had a chance to or wanted to work for one of the, dare I say, big two?
Oh, wanted to, yeah.
No, we never worked for them. We get to work with them closely. So we have monthly, something. It used to be weekly meetings with the DC team on what's moving forward. She gets to design stuff for them as far as in conjunction with our work, arts on our bags, and everything like that. So it's been really cool working with them. They've been super good to work with. I mean, they're a huge company in comparison to us, but it hasn't felt like that. They've been very welcoming, I guess I would say. So getting to work with them has been great. We've gotten to work with some of the creators from DC, Jeff Johns, Ivan Reese, like we David Finch. So we sent him stuff. We got to meet these people in person, and we're planning a dinner with them at the next convention. So it's all super, as like big time fans. These are like the top guys in the business. It's super exciting for us. Like I'm just thinking about it, like gets the smile on her face. So it's been really cool to work with them. She has done a couple of indie comic book covers, nothing for the big two, as we wish maybe someday at some point.
Yeah, I used to do like I guess commissions is what you'd call it, but nothing major. I mean, it was mostly like creators, like writers reaching out to me and saying, "Hey, can you do a cover? Can you do this? Whatever." And I'm always happy to.
That's pretty major.
Yeah, before the business.
Yeah. So I used to draw a lot, and I started. Well, the idea with Comics on Coffee was, so the first set of coffees we did was all my art, and this was the idea behind it was, right, like I'm gonna draw more.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get to draw like comics on their coffee bags and actually sell it as a product, but then we get to deal with then we start growing so fast I almost have no time to draw anymore.
You have oh yeah, here you go. So this was one of her characters that she drew, really just for this coffee company. I don't know if you can see it well. Obviously comic strip on the back, just kind of like this is how we started before we got any kind of licensing with Warner Brothers and DC Comics and such. So it was kind of just a fun project.
Mm-hmm.
She was getting to draw stuff, and I was getting to get back into the roasting, which I had done a long time ago, but got away from and wanted to get back into. So deal with Warner Brothers, like she hasn't really done any of her own stuff recently.
So let's jump into that. How did you guys start this? I mean, where did this, in your head, you love coffee, you clearly had, previous experience with it. And how did this, idea to marry the two come about?
I mean, we kind of just fell into it, I would say, honestly. Like, I'm trying to think of like one defining moment.
We wanted to do a project.
It's hard. Together. Yeah, we wanted to do something together. I had been, I was trained by a master roaster a long time ago. I had become a master roaster this was like kind of a local gourmet marketplace. They had this big roastery there. They were roasting all their coffee themselves. But we had like, I would say probably 50 different origins we were bringing coffee beans from. And I just kind of really loved it. And eventually I went on to pursue my career and, got away from it, but I just missed it. And we both were, love coffee. We were drinking coffee. And we said, like, let's get back into the coffee. I just wanted to. So she said, yeah, let's just start it, little small business, make it a hobby. And I mean, how did we even come up with it? I would say we were just like, well, what niche for the coffee? And we said, well, we both love comic books. Let's just make it comic books. So that's kind of how it started. And we went to like a convention starting off with MegaCon. We took our product, that bag I showed you. It was just her drawings on there and like a couple others that she did. And it just
we sold out.
It just went crazy. From there, it just blew up, and it's just kind of
we had to pack up and
leave. That was the point where it actually became like a real business. And
that's when, like, I guess the second light bulb. We're like, we got something pretty cool.
Yeah, so we followed up and pursued it, and here we are. 3 years later, awesome. The deal with Warner Brothers. Yeah, so super exciting for us.
Yeah, so how did that come about? Because, I mean, nowadays, that seems like it would be almost impossible to do. A company like Warner's, who, first of all, I mean, as a fan, you could see just their in a constant state of flux. But, you know, to kind of hammer down something and, you know, create a partnership, that just seems like just an absolute dream.
Yeah, honestly, like, to be honest, like
It was a
it
Hail
almost,
Mary
yeah,
attempt.
never should have happened. I don't want to say should have, but yeah, like it's completely to this day like blowing my mind that we got that deal. But we approached them, you know, really didn't get much response back. Obviously, as you can imagine. Um, Started sending them coffees. Really, I just started sending them coffee, sending them coffee, sending them coffee, sending them coffee. Um, and finally, like months later, we get a call, and I answer, and it's I'm not going to disclose any names, but it's someone from Warner Brothers, and she says, we've been trying, you keep sending coffee, and we're just brewing it at the office. And everyone's trying it, and everyone just keeps telling us like keep getting that coffee. That coffee's so good, we love that coffee, keep buying that coffee, keep buying that coffee. And she said, finally, like, I just have to cave in. This is the coffee we want to represent like our brand, so let's start talking about a deal. So that's kind of was how we got the opening into the door. I'd say we talked to them for probably close to 2 years before we finally struck anything that we could all live with. It was a long, arduous process.
Wow.
But after we got that, it's been like just so amazing working with them. It was like, super easy after that, I would say.
I commend you for sticking with that, because I know, having worked in corporate for some time, and those long, arduous conversations, sometimes people just, they throw up their hands and they walk away because, it's not worth their time. But I commend you guys for sticking with it, because it's awesome. I mean, how many
Yeah, I
people
mean,
can
it
say
was a
like,
dream
yeah,
come true, so we
we're
couldn't walk
working with
away.
DC.
Yeah, yeah, it's like we're Team DC all the way.
Oh
So
yeah.
it's just been great.
Team Warner Brothers. I mean, grew up with Looney Tunes
Yeah,
and
I mean, and they have Lord of the
Animaniacs.
Rings.
Yeah.
I mean, they have so
Yeah.
much content. It's amazing.
So, what is the creative process like for you guys as pertains to? I mean, does anyone or on the DC side have a say as to, all right, we're going to pair this dark roast with Sinestro, or anything like that? Is it just kind of what
That's
you
pretty
guys
much
are
all.
feeling?
Yeah, so we basically, Tanya, and she should probably maybe talk about her process a little bit, designs the stuff. I help her. We try to match flavors that match the characters, obviously. For example,
Dark Knight Roast.
yeah, Dark Knight Roast, right? It's our dark roast. That's a no-brainer. Wonder Woman's coconut pecan. She's from Paradise Island, so coconuts, island feel. Superman's vanilla because he's just kind of a vanilla character. I love the
Right.
guy. Don't get me wrong. He's
No,
awesome.
I get
It's
it.
kind of
Trust me.
fitting. Um, so things like that we get to come up with. I will say they weighed in one single time on a flavor. Out of all of our flavors, they told us, really wanted us to do the Flash. They added the theatrical rights to our contract so that we could do Flash with the movie release,
Mhm.
which was super great. But they said we feel like Flash. So my original proposal was like a high caffeine content because he's super speed, right? So
Yeah.
that just made sense to me. But they said no, we feel like the Flash is spicy. So try and figure out a way to do like a spicy coffee because he's spicy. Well, I said okay. Like they made one request in like 2 years. I couldn't say no. So and I was like racking my brain I was trying all kinds of different profiles, flavors, like trying to figure out how I can make a coffee that's spicy and still be good because I never want to put anything out there that I don't believe in, I don't like. Finally, I figured out spiced rum was the flavor that I ended up going with.
Oh.
It ended up being very good. So I was happy to release it, but that one was the only one they ever weighed in on as far as like matching the flavor profile to the coffee. Other than
That's
that,
pretty
like
cool.
they have a final review say over anything we put out. Tanya submits to them. That's what the like the weekly meetings we had with them were with the DC team. It was about like reviews and stuff for all the content we're coming out with. And I'll let you talk about that process a little more because that's all her.
Yeah, I mean, usually I'll think of a character like what. So, for example, the next one we're working on right now, Batgirl. So I look through. We have access to thousands of images through Warner Brothers. So I'll log in and kind of look through different images. So I'll look up Batgirl. If I see great art, I mean, most of the bags, no, all the bags, it's artists that I love. So you see Green Lanterns, Ivan Reis, the Batman, Jason Fabok. We've got what did we do? Tony Daniels on one cover.
David Finch is the Wonder Woman.
David Finch, right? Wonder Woman. So that narrows it down pretty quickly for me.
I'm getting goosebumps as you're discussing this, by the way.
What's that?
I'm getting goosebumps as you're discussing all these, these creators and stuff. I've only had a chance to interview Jeff Johns so far, which was a
nice
dream
guy.
for
He's
me.
awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolute dream. You know what? So, sorry, I didn't mean to derail your conversation. So I'm a huge Green Lantern fan as I am Superman, and I love Jeff Johns' work. So I'm definitely going to ask you about him. But at any rate, I'll shut up. Go ahead, please.
But anyway, so yeah, I'll basically gather all the assets that I want, all the images, come up with the design, front, backs, both the sides of the bags, the bottom of the bags. Include all the logos that pertain to each character. And from there, I will go to Tony and say, then we kind of work together to figure out what's a good flavor for this character. So right now, I would say we're probably stuck with Batgirl.
Oh yeah,
like we're still like
that process is usually we'll like write out together like 5 to 10 flavors we think would like suit the character, and then I start roasting, doing profiles, trying to make it taste good. Maybe 1 or 2 of those will taste good enough that I want to put it out there, and then at that point that's what decides the flavor for the bag. So.
And then at that point, we submit that to Warner Brothers and see what they have to say about it. Usually they love it. At this point, like I've kind of figured out what they like and what they expect as far as what their legal team's going to say, and DC in general, what they're going to say. But yeah, that's pretty much it. And then from there, we submit it. Takes like a week now at this point, probably. They're pretty quick on it.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It figured out. Yeah.
That's a dream turnaround time.
Yeah.
And
then for us, it's just a matter of ordering bags, getting those printed, and shipped to us, and the roasting is fast. The bagging's fast.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Do you ever do with them, meaning DC, those tastings? So I mean, I here's as much as I know about coffee. I've seen stuff on Food Network, and I had the pleasure of being a part of a like real tasting where they line up the cups.
Yeah,
like I work for a hotel company, so they had the coffee vendor come in from like, I want to say Seattle's Best or something. And they lined up all these coffees and they did the grinding and the thing and this whatever. And then very particular about, I mean, their coffee people were very like, clearly they take it very seriously. And I had so much more respect for the process afterwards, and how they like kind of slurp it and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Do you ever do any of that stuff with them so they can kind of appreciate what it is that they're putting their imagery on and stuff?
So we haven't gotten to do that with anyone from that team. We really just haven't had much of a chance. We went to Burbank and got to do some meetings and see their stuff there maybe a few months ago, but there just wasn't enough time to do anything like a cupping.
No, it's a fast play.
Yeah.
Kind of play.
And we understand we're, obviously small potatoes compared to some of the stuff that they're doing. So even just getting to go out there was a big honor.
And look, they just have to work on one Superman movie right now. They need to get that right. So they need coffee to keep their shit on track.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Well, they are drinking our coffee, so
yeah.
Good.
But I do hope to do, and I think we will get to do a cupping with the Ghost Machine team. We're gonna try and put something together. So we have like the conventions that we're going to, and the ones that they're going to, and where they meet up. We're supposed to have a dinner every time, every convention. And definitely, like one of my things I really want to do is like do a cupping for them before or after one of these dinners. Just they're big coffee fans. I don't know if you've noticed, but especially like Ivan Reese,
Hmm.
super big into coffee. So you've done the cupping, so you know as you do it, you know I can explain the kind of the science behind how
Yeah.
you put different flavors and like you know depends on I don't know what the cupping you did, but what I generally like to do is I'll keep like maybe it to like 2 or 3 beans and I'll roast it in totally different ways with different steepness curves and things. And I like to have people taste it and then like okay this is the same bean now was roasted a little differently now taste it and they can be like wow this is like totally different flavor and it's simply by the way it was roasted not even different temperatures just by how fast it got there or how the airflow or the drum speed or things like that can really change the profile and I kind of like to when I do a cupping I like to kind of accentuate that so people can kind of start to learn and understand how different things can bring out different flavors in coffee.
That's interesting. Yeah, I was
Well, I hope not. I think they will like it, so I want to do that with them.
I absolutely think so. I mean, I think that stuff's great because I'm always interested in kind of how things are made. And, like I said, it gives you more of appreciation for what the product that you're working on. And look, let's face it, who gets to do stuff like that? I think many people like their extent of coffee is hot water and coffee grounds and you drink it. And very few people, unless maybe they watch the same episodes of Food Network that I did, know what goes into it and really have an appreciation for it. And, that stuff's absolutely fantastic. I mean, if they're going to be working on it, they should know the process. I mean,
Yeah, and I think I just from talking to them about stuff, I feel like they're going to be interested in it. So we'll see.
oh, absolutely.
So I'll let you know if I get the cupping done, but I think it should happen.
You're going to see a lot of faces like, oh,
Yeah.
right, sure. Yeah. So how did, I mean, you guys clearly have a partnership with DC. How did you get Image involved now?
We walked up to their booth, handed them a coffee, and said
convention.
we should do coffee
Yeah.
together.
Taste this first. Now let's talk.
And then Jeff Johns was like, these guys again,
It was
No.
Jason Fabuk is who we walked up to
That's
originally.
Jason? Okay.
And then he tasted it, and Jeff Johns happened to be
No,
like,
he looks over. He looks because he sees his art.
oh, that's what it was. Yeah,
He's
yeah,
the
this is
Joker.
hilarious.
Like this is gonna get his attention.
Yeah, so we took actually bags of coffee with his art. We took one with Ivan Reese,
Mhm.
and oh, and we took
Jason's
we took
Batman.
we took
and
something
Joker.
that what oh the 3 jokes that Jeff
Jokers,
Johns
yeah.
wrote.
Batman.
So we took like
Joker.
something corresponding to each of them up, and we showed it to Jason Fabuk, and he looks over. Who was it? Was it
He
Jeff?
looks at Jeff
Yeah.
and says like,
and says,
"Have
"Hey,
you seen that?"
yeah." He's like, "Have you seen this?" He's like, "Oh, yeah." He's like, "No, I haven't seen it." So it kind of got their attention. We just started talking, and it just kind of snowballed from there. Like, I don't know if you saw the press release. Did we release that yet?
Yeah.
But we just released a press release, I think, like yesterday, about
Ghost Machine Day.
Ghost Machine Day, and like we, I've done we've now signed licensing with them to start handling some coffee for them as well. So that's kind of how it started. Was just we walked up to them, and started talking to them. They're super nice guys, and it just happened.
That's great. And there's no issue between like, okay, you're doing work with DC or, no, none of that.
No.
I don't know. I know nothing about that stuff. So, some people are like,
I can't talk for anybody, but I would assume they're still on good terms. I think they're still doing work for DC too, as far as I.
Yeah, I believe Jeff Johns still does work for
Yeah,
them, and even though he still has his, he's working with Image and everything else he does.
Yeah, so I can only assume that there's a good relationship still between them, from what I can tell.
Now, do you guys have plans or aspirations to kind of branch out to other comic brands?
I mean, yeah, absolutely.
I mean, that smile kind of gives it away, I guess.
We have to be careful there with what we say because
Yeah, no, I don't look. If you can't say anything, by all means,
non-disclosure agreements with certain people. So
I get it.
At this moment, we can't disclose certain things. But
Got it. So you heard it here first. They're gonna go with. No, I'm kidding. That's really cool.
Yeah.
So what I really want to find out is in the creative process for coffee, comics aside, how does this happen in terms of flavors and beans and stuff like that? I mean, do you have like, do you go to one? And if I'm asking a stupid question, I apologize. But in terms of finding your beans that to create your flavors, do they come from one place, many different sources, or how does that happen?
It's a great question. So I go to different farms directly. So I travel to Nicaragua, Colombia, Brazil, Honduras, and so far, like I have been able to acquire my beans directly from the farmers. I do that a couple different reasons, mostly just because I don't know if you've ever been to these countries, but you go out to those farms, and I mean, like they're such nice people. They welcome me into their homes, but you go in their homes, their floors made of dirt. You look up, and there's a hole in their roof, and they just it's a different lifestyle than ours. They live differently, but like if I can buy directly from them, which I've been able to do, then so what I do is there's a published price for coffee, and it's called like the New York price, and I look up that price and I pay the farmer that price. And then it's a little harder. I have to handle logistics. I have to bring over a container of coffee at a time. Have to do all this stuff, but it really helps them out because what happens normally is the farmers, they own their farm, but there's like a consortium inside the country that buys all the farm's coffee and then sells it to roasters like myself in the United States. But that consortium, they have a lot of power because they're, getting it from everybody, and so they can kind of like really beat the price down. Is what I can say. And sometimes like during off seasons, parts of the year, like depending on the farm, but some of those people like they'll skip meals because they just don't have enough money to eat. And so this is a way to like number one, I get to help control my supply. So from the moment that coffee cherry ripens to the moment it gets to my customers, like I've handled it. It's under my control. I can control everything about it. That's like an extra bonus. But also like I can help those people out. And the coolest thing is like I went, the first time I purchased coffee from one of the farmers, I'm come back the next year, and I'm like go talking to him, and he says, he's like, these people are amazing. He says, yeah, he's like, he says, I bought beds for everybody in the village. Is there a way you can help me, get these beds, because these farms are way out in the middle of nowhere. It's like, can you help me get these beds here? And I mean, it was a no-brainer. It's like, yeah, of course. Like, the trucks are coming to his, farm empty anyway, so we just loaded them up and did that. But like this guy, he gets a little bit of money, and what's he do? He buys beds for other people in the village. So it's just, it's just a way to give to these people a little more than what they normally get, I guess I would say.
That's fantastic. You should pair that with one of the Superman images on the back of your coffee.
Yeah.
Let people know what goes into, the hard work of these people. That's fantastic.
Yeah, we've tried to think about like how to do that, but I don't know. It's hard to make that story fit, I think, somehow. I don't know. Maybe someday we'll
come up with something.
Yeah, come up with something.
That's really neat. So what is on the horizon for you guys that you can share, of course?
Well, Ghost Machine.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm really super excited to be working with those guys. I mean, when he knows, but I don't think the creator, like, Jeff Johns or Jason or Ivan realize how many like butterflies I have in my stomach when we're talking to them. And I mostly just try to stay quiet because I know I'll say something really stupid and embarrassing. Like I just stand there and smile. But I'm super excited for Ghost Machine. I mean, they've got all the titles coming out. We're wanting to do basically kind of the same thing we're doing now, a blend for each book, like Rook.
Oh, really? I'm looking forward to that now.
Geiger, yeah. And Rockefeller's is going to be fun.
Yeah, Rockefeller's.
Yeah.
What do you have in store for Geiger?
Something radioactive, right?
I was gonna say it glows. The coffee glows.
Yeah, that's gonna be a hard one.
Weren't we talking to Jeff about making that one high caffeine? Is that what we were thinking? I think like really high, like explosive levels of caffeine, I think is what we were thinking about. Now I don't know what we'll do, but he liked that idea. So we'll see.
Yeah.
But that's kind of just the spitball we got going now.
Yeah. Be fun.
That's really cool. What is here? This has nothing to do with this. How do you regulate or control the level of caffeine in a particular blend?
Okay, so there's a couple things that affect that. The first is how much caffeine the bean originally starts with. There's several varieties of coffee beans. There's more all the time because they're like crossbreeding and making new breeds. So that's the thing. So you can start off with a really high level caffeine bean. That's a Robusta bean. It's the highest caffeine level that they have right now. Something else you can do is the roast. So how long you roast it, basically it's like cooking like a rum cake. The longer you cook something, liquor, the liquor like cooks out of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So same thing with the coffee bean. The longer you roast it, the darker it gets, the smokier it gets, the bolder it gets, but also the less and less caffeine it gets. So if you do like a lighter roast, it's cooked less of the caffeine's cooked out. So that's another way you can affect it. And then also some coffee companies, which I would never do, like actually, I don't know how that process is, but they will inject it with like outside caffeine somehow. I don't know if they soak it, but I'll never do that. So I don't care about that. But starting with a real high caffeine bean, roasting it shorter times to keep that caffeine in there, you can get really high caffeine content coffee.
That's interesting. Yeah, I never knew that. That was okay. Cool. For some reason, I always assumed that a darker roast is just somehow meant it was,
and that's funny,
stronger in flavor meant it was stronger in caffeine.
Yeah,
but
it's exactly what I would say like 90% of people I talk to think that. I mean, I don't know. It's just kind of how we were programmed to think, I guess. But everyone thinks, darker the roast. I mean, we serve coffee to people at the booths and stuff, and they're like, oh yeah, I need a dark roast because I need that caffeine content. And I'm always like, well, should I tell him or is it not worth it? Usually I will try and say,
just totally burst their bubble. Come on.
Yeah,
no, stupid. It's not that. It's
much
the other
bolder
way.
flavor, but less caffeine.
And we're back. So what'd you guys think of that? Not your traditional Dollar Bin Bandit interview, right? I love coffee. I love talking to these guys. I've been seeing their advertisements everywhere, and I figured this would be a great interview to present to you guys. Two hardworking people, small business owners who have, like I said, taken their love of comics and coffee, combined the two, and they travel all over the United States. You perhaps have seen them at some conventions lately. They were just at San Diego Comic-Con. And look, they make some great stuff. If you love coffee, I highly recommend you guys checking it out. They're on Facebook, all social media. Their web address and all that good stuff is in the show notes. So check out Comics on Coffee, and be sure to come back next week. We'll check you guys out. Take it easy.